Hello to you all, and welcome to Creating a Round Character. I am your presenter, Shaquanda Dalton, and I am the author of four best-selling urban romance novels. And I am excited to show what I know about creating a round character because I think you have to have yourself a good character to be in your novel because a character can drive the entire novel. So I feel like this is really important, and I just want to share with you guys my tips to make sure your character is the trademark epic character you envision in your mind. So let's get started. Okay, number one, know faults and talents. That means you don't want your character to be too perfect, but you do want them to have still some good traits about them. For example, um, you have a young teenager who is a good girl, but she has a bad habit of not turning in her homework on time. Like she's a good person, but she has this bad trait of doing something. So she's still likable, relatable even because of that bad trait. Because I mean, whoever haven't given turned in homework a little late or not at all. So the trait that is negative or bad or fault, whatever, doesn't have to be so overpowering that it takes over the whole character. It could be something that actually makes them more relatable. So even if it's bad, it can still be good overall. So that's your protagonist. An antagonist, you want them to have more bad traits than good traits, but you still want them to have a good trait so that they will be more rounded and not just a flat surface negative person. They have to have real feelings, more human traits that make them more realistic, more believable. Because nobody's going to believe a person can be completely 100% evil. They have to have something that makes them more. One thing that, even if they love cooking, or if they only love their pet, they can be a serial killer, but they love their pet cat. And that could be the one thing that that makes the character just adds a little bit more depth and maybe even a little mystery to them. So definitely consider adding faults. Don't undershadow the talents or their good traits because that's important too. Um, like I said with the antagonist and the how the villain is not always the baddest. Um, so that goes without saying that no one's perfect either way you look at it, and that pretty much says that. And just beware of the too nice character. I had a problem with where I would write a character and it would be I wanted them to appear so likable that I forgot to give them something negative to have as a real trait that they carry because I want them to be so likable. And you don't want to do that because it would appear that they're too nice and too likable, and what ends up happening there will be unbelievable to your readers because looking back now I feel like okay, yeah, I didn't buy that either. Like there's no way that they were that perfect. So give them a little edge, give them a little. If they love to go to school, maybe have their edge be that they love looking at their teacher. I mean, that's kind of like a fault in the edge, but definitely give them a little something that makes them stand out to be that epic character, that trademark, maybe even a catchphrase that makes them a little bit different, special, unique, something. Because, nobody's perfect. Okay, next one is background history. Um, you want to know as much as you want to know about your character, and one way of doing that is to think about their background. I mean, they didn't just pop out of thin air, right? They have family that created them. They have friends, they have some kind of history. Where do they live? Their location. Um, your family raises you, your friends is who you interact with. It all comes into play with their personality. So all of this affects them. If they were living in the jungle, for instance, they'll probably have a different outlook on life than a person living in an inner city versus someone that was living in a rural area. So all of that comes into play, and just you don't have to make it out known to the public, I mean, to your readers at the beginning of the book, just something to keep in the back of your mind as you write in that character's voice, as you tell that character's story, that this is where they come from. Remember, remember to have them act like it. So, background is important. Dialogue, tone, mannerism. So, everybody has a different, this is basically kind of personality, and mannerism ties into how they were raised. If they were raised very by mature adults, for instance, that really care about manners, they are more likely to have a lot of manners. And their tone, how they interact with people, is gonna come into play too. Even with their friends, so that comes back into background. Their dialogue, what they say to people, how they say it. Are they polite? Are they rude? Are they funny? Do they have an accent? And just to think about things like that. What do they like to do for fun? What do they have? Habits, hobbies, everything, jobs. What is it that makes them them? What makes them different? What makes Jane different from Holly? What makes them special? That's the thing that is the key that you have to think about. Because even if they have different things and different jobs, they can have the same job, the same parents, the same accents, and still be completely different people. And you need to make sure that you know that and that you show it in the book, because that's it's gonna make it stand out, and that's what's gonna make it more special. Education. This is all the stuff that makes your character like completely rounded, completely circle full, more in depth, more focused characters. So your education, think about that. Did they finish high school? Were they a dropout of college? Did they go on? Did they go to Harvard, Yale? Did they do their master's, their MA, their PhD, for instance? If you see a character that has a PhD, what does that tell you? They're smart. They're dedicated. They have a passion for whatever they're studying. It tells something about your character's past in a way that is more that's easier than just saying I have a PhD in such and such. That's yeah, but it also says other things such as I'm highly educated, I'm dedicated, I care. There's something else to think about, okay? Okay, what's their story? So, what purpose does this character have in your book? Where do they come from? What do they want? What goals do they have in this story and for the next story if you have a series? What do they want? And why do they want it? And what motivates them to go out every day to achieve their goal? It could be as simple as wanting to graduate high school. It could be as difficult as wanting to get their baby brother back from a kidnapping. It is a goal, and you need to make it clear what motivates them. Because you can't say, well, obviously it's their little brother. Why wouldn't you go out there to find them? But it could be deeper than that, and you could say, like, I have this strong bond with my little brother, and it hurts me if I don't bring him back. It will literally tear me apart. I told him I will always protect him. That's motivation, and that's got to be clear when you say your story. And what obstacles do they have? Because if it was easy, then it wouldn't be much of a story, right? So there's this goal, there's obstacles, they get around the obstacle, and that's your story. Big or small, that has to come into play no matter what. The character wants something, there's a problem, and the character overcomes their problem or not. It depends on how you want the story to end, right? Tragedy. Not every story have to have a happy ending. So just think about what's their story. Think about if you were to have like a reader to talk about your story, the book you wrote with this character in there, what would they say? If that reader had to sum it up to a friend, what your story was about in a nutshell, what would they say? Don't know? Just something to think about. So make sure they have goals. So all this character information that I'm giving you, all of this stuff I want you to think about, the characters, the background, the history, the language, the dialogue, the mannerism, everything doesn't have to be purged out in the first opening pages of your book about the detailedness of your characters. No, you want to actually spread it out only if you need it in your story. Some of this stuff can just be in your notes. Some of this stuff could be just for your records so that you know about your character. And then if that information just naturally comes out in the story, then you know it, you have it. You're not going to be blindsided. And it's best because you need to know, as the creator of your character, you need to know your character better than anybody else. So just knowing all this information will help you because it helps you know what's in the character's mind, their head, and you'll be able to create a story that probably can even just be character driven throughout the whole novel. That is what's gonna propel your novel. That's gonna make your story stand out. Your readers gotta learn every little thing from your book about the character, but remember that you decide what's shown and what's not shown. I just want you to have the information with you to make sure your character is a 3D character. They're round, they are complete, they're in depth, they're not flat. You do not want that. So please, like, just take a time one day to just really ask yourself these questions and find out your information about your characters. It would really, I promise you, make your story that much better. Okay, thank you guys for watching. You can subscribe and comment below, and you can also download these slides at learnasyouwrite.com. If I went too fast or if you just want to reference back to it without having to watch the whole video, just go to the website. I'll make a post for this video, and the slides, you can download it to your computer and you can review it anytime you want. And thank you so much. Bye.